So I just got finished, actually earlier today, I just got finished watching the Willie D live interview with David Lucas. And there's so much. It's not so much to unpack. It's pretty simple. Um, so for those who don't know, I guess lately on the internet, they've been talking about this guy. It's a comedian, a black comedian, David Lucas. He was doing a set, and there was a heckler in the crowd. The heckler happened to be African American, and he went in trying to, basically shut the heckler up so he could continue on with the show. And his reference to the heckler was, basically, you're in here interrupting the show. And his comment was, you're giving people the justification or letting people, understand why the police kneeled on George Floyd's neck. Basically, he was acting up, and he's basically illustrating why George Floyd got his neck kneeled on. And then he said, this is not a quote, but you can Google it or YouTube it. He said, oh, don't be offended. That's not it's just a joke. I would have never kneeled on George Floyd's neck. I would have shot that nigga or shot that N-word. So, of course, we, and not meaning, black people, and not all black people, not all African Americans, but a majority of the people that were offended were black, had a problem. So, he felt, or it was feeling like there was a episode of cancel culture going on, like he was going to get canceled. So I don't know how it came about, but he ended up on Willie D Live to do an interview about it and kind of state his case. And him and Willie D, shout out to Willie D, had a conversation about it. And it was interesting. There were some points about him and then about the situation that kind of, I don't want to say encapsulated, it's a phenomenon, but it's very much, it doesn't justify, and I understand, but it's really telling, very symptomatic of the experience and what actually is happening to us as Black Americans in this country. So first off, this gentleman, he made it a point to say that his comedy audience is, a majority of it is white, which is a fact for him. And he went on to explain that his comedy is too cerebral for the majority of his audience to be black. That's why the majority of his audience is white, because his comedy material is too cerebral, or is cerebral. And that's in the interview, he said that. Which to me is amazing. It's sad that is his thought process. Like, I believe your talent and your ability as a comic is what speaks to your level of intelligence and the intelligence of your comedy. And I think the smarter and more cerebral you are, the more people that you can make laugh. When you say your comedy is too cerebral, and that's why your majority of your audience is white, and you're a black man, does that mean you're not smart enough to get black people to laugh at what you say? Or is it that you don't connect enough with the black audience for them to find your humor funny? Your brand of humor funny? Because black people love Dave Chappelle, and he's very cerebral. Eddie Murphy, very, very cerebral. Richard Pryor, very cerebral. Because you don't get it doesn't mean that it's not cerebral, because mostly black people get it and not white people doesn't make it dumb dick and pussy comedy like you referenced in that interview. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And I don't like want to use the term coon or pandering and any of that stuff, because he seemed lost. He seems lost. What else did he say in this video? It was a lot. Willie D did an amazing job, questioning this young man, trying to, one, get a better understanding of him and his point of view and why he felt justified making the joke that he did. And then also maybe to open his eyes to a perspective that he may not have thought of before. And, Mr. Lucas, to his credit, wanted to seem open to what was being told, but he was in defense mode. And it seemed as if he was listening to respond, not to receive the message. Respond to the message, not to receive the message. I think one of the larger points that is so true or that I find very prevalent in culture today is Willie D basically was making the point that it's acceptable for you, or it's more acceptable in America to make jokes that offend black people and not apologize, and it's not a sensitive subject to mock our pain, to joke or make jokes about our trauma. But there are sections of humanity that are off limits to the same type of mocking or the same type of humor or attempts at humor. Willie D was referencing white people. Specifically, he spoke about Jewish people and the Holocaust. He asked a direct question with regards to, have you told any jokes about the Holocaust? And Mr. Lucas responded, I have plenty of jokes about Jewish people. And he went on to say, he did a roast battle against a gentleman and he made a Jewish reference, and it's on YouTube and it's on the internet, and it was 7 years ago and blah, blah, blah. So it's not even a current joke that he does, although he may have more Jewish jokes in his repertoire. Specifically, Willie D was referencing, have you made a joke about the Holocaust? And Mr. Lucas failed to respond to that. He kept saying, the Holocaust is an event. You're talking about making a joke about an event versus a person or an individual. And then Willie D, brilliantly, he said, have you made any jokes about slavery? And Mr. Lucas said, absolutely, I have plenty of jokes about slavery. And then Willie D said, but slavery is an event. And then Mr. Lucas politely sidestepped that question and stated, but we're here talking about my joke that I did right now that's offensive. And that was very telling. You see, anybody can make a joke about slavery. And depending on how you do it and who your audience is, no nationally recognized group of people comes to the defense. There are no cancel campaigns lodged against people making offensive jokes about slavery. I dare to say, for most people, slavery or the mention of it it's more offensive to talk about the effects of slavery and how it affects the black community right now, what America should do to make amends for slavery. That's more offensive than making a joke about slavery. But it is pretty well documented that anyone who makes or attempts to make a joke about the Holocaust is out of there. Make any commentary about the Holocaust is out of there. Compare the Holocaust to anything where the Jewish community feels it's taken, not given the gravity and the care that's necessary when speaking about such a horrific event. That person or that individual or that group that made that comment, I mean, look at Kyrie Irving, look at Kanye West, and I'm not excusing what they did, but what I'm saying is if those comments were made about slavery, those two individuals or anyone like them wouldn't have dealt with the backlash that they did. And that's the point. And I don't care what it sounds like, because I'm a black man in America and I feel it every day. And just because I don't say something out loud about what happens doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. No person has the right to tell me when or where I should stop being affected by something traumatizing that happened to me, or the effects of something traumatizing that happened to my people that I'm feeling the effects of right now. And that doesn't make it an excuse, it just makes it a fact. And the more that people try to sweep that under the proverbial rug of, we didn't do that, we're so far away from that. Yeah, if we were, would we still have institutional systemic racism that can be pointed out in so many systems today if slavery is such a thing of the past? Would you need any type of social programs to create and guarantee equality if racism slavery, which was born of the racist views of the people who settled or stole this land, if it was so far outside of the American culture, will we need these things? It's such a part of the fiber of this country. It's like people compare it to taxes. Like, why are you complaining about taxes? You're a citizen of this country, you just have to deal with taxes. You're a citizen of this country, you just have to deal with slavery. It happened. It's changed forms and formats throughout history. You just need to deal with it. You talk about the Holocaust, you'll be lucky if you get a job. And it's ridiculous. And that's not to say that the Holocaust should be treated the same way as slavery, because it was horrific. It was and is ghastly. But so was slavery. And that's the problem. Our trauma is not respected. We are not respected. Our history with America is different than everybody else's that is here. We're the only immigrant in this country that is we are a lost nation. It makes me angry to stand in the face of anyone with something that's so apparent, and for them to try to explain to me why I shouldn't feel the way that I feel, or why I shouldn't believe what I'm believing when it's in my face every day. So much so that out of survival, people that look like me will also denounce that it's even an issue. Like this comedian is basically saying, yo, it's okay for me to be offensive to George Floyd, his family, and everyone who took a knee to protest against police brutality. Another descendant of slavery, another echo through time presenting that comes from slavery. It's okay to make a joke about that and be offensive. And even if he didn't mean it, he doesn't need to apologize for it. But he won't make a Holocaust joke. He'll defend why he shouldn't make a Holocaust joke, but brag about making a joke about slavery. And that's not symptomatic. That's the ill, or one of the ills of being in this country and what it has done, or what it continues to do to black people in this country. Oh, don't focus on what it does to you as a people. Just get over it and find a way around it. But let's make sure we don't offend anyone else in their trauma. I really don't care what this sounds like, because no matter what else I talk about, this is my life, and this is a part of it, just like anything else I say on this platform. I've never seen publicly a Jewish person condemn or speak poorly about another group of Jewish people, or a Jewish person speaking about the Holocaust and how horrible it was, and what it did to its people, or to his or her people. But I can find hundreds of clips of black people telling other black people they need to get over slavery. That's how fucked up it is in this country, in our community, and what we feel like we need to do to let alone survive, but to actually thrive in this country. We have to turn our back on history and our own folk for it to be okay. We have to act like we don't care about black people to be accepted, to cross over. I don't want to continue down this path because it'll never end, because there's so many examples that I could give that it's sickening, to be honest. So yeah, Mr. Lucas, it's freedom of speech. You can do what you want, but you need to sit down with some people and have a little conversation and just get a little bit better perspective, or at least be honest about how you feel. It would be better if you were just honest and said, I'm okay with offending black people, but I'm not okay with offending certain groups. One, because I don't think that it's a big deal to make fun of a black person's pain and their trauma. And because of what I want to do or who I want to be or who I need to impress, I will definitely be sensitive to these certain groups. No one's going to make a big bunch of jokes about transsexuals. You have to almost be so big that they can't cancel you. And even then, I mean, look at Dave Chappelle. He openly stated in multiple specials about how problematic it was for him to make jokes, even though he's an ally to that community. Openly, outwardly, who he associates with, who he does business with, who he's friends with. I understand his cerebral humor when he speaks about transsexuals. It's sad. It's really sad. Like I was watching that video and it just felt like he could be the mascot or the poster child for what the demise of our self-actualization and pride should be in this country, where we don't give a fuck about ourselves at all. Just ridiculous. And it's not even, he's not even doing it because he doesn't care. He's doing it because it's not, I don't even say it's not profitable. It has no bearing. Like, we are not defended. You know, we're not cherished. Our contribution is cherished. Our dollars are cherished. Our culture is cherished. But we as a people are not cherished. We're tolerated. They let us exist, let a few of us succeed, so we can't say no black people made it in this country. And meanwhile, they continue to rape and pillage our culture and our people in this country the same way they do our continent across the water. Now, again, I'm just gonna stop, because this, again, will lead into more, and maybe I'll talk about more later, but I can't do any more right now. Y'all have a good evening.